Hello and welcome to 15 Minutes in the Forest. I'm Karen Snape with Virginia Cooperative Extension, and today I'm bringing you part 3 in my series about dealing with storms and other natural disasters in your woodland. In the first part, we talked about how to prepare for these events. In the second part, we talked about economic recovery. And today we're going to talk about cleaning up storm damage as safely as possible. Of course, the safest way to clean up storm damage is just not to clean up storm damage. It's possible that there will be enough acres of forest land affected on your property that you can do a salvage timber harvest, or if you have other standing timber of value, that you'll be able to include the damaged area in a salvage timber sale and have that taken care of by professional loggers. I will tell you that I work with professional loggers, and they have all said that I should advise you not to do your own storm cleanup. It's also possible that you may need to hire professionals, contractors, or arborists to deal with storm damage to your timber or storm damaged trees that impact your home or other structures. If you do decide to do some of your own storm cleanup, a good piece of advice is to only do what really needs to be done. Things like clearing roads, trails, and fire lines. Most of the debris can be left in place to rot. It won't look the way you want it to look, but it's better to be safe and only do the minimum. One of the things we talked about in the economic recovery video was waiting until it's safe to go back to your property. I know that you're going to want to get there as soon as you can to assess the damage and start cleaning up, but it's important that you don't go while it's still dangerous. Don't be there while trees are still falling, while there's still standing water, while there's still ice, while there may be downed power lines. Wait until it's safe to go. The mess will be there. In the Before the Storm video, we also talked about personal protective equipment, to include, if you're using a chainsaw, a hard hat, safety glasses, ear protection, gloves, and perhaps most importantly, chainsaw chaps. And of course, a pair of good sturdy boots. I want to take a moment to draw attention to the chaps. Those aren't there just to keep your legs from getting cut. They're there to protect your femoral arteries, arteries that run down your thighs. If those arteries are severed, you can bleed out as quickly as you would from your neck arteries being severed. It's incredibly dangerous, and that's why you should always wear your chaps every time you're running a saw. In addition to wearing your PPE, if you have bright reflective or high visibility clothing, it's a good idea to wear that so that anybody else also working with you or anybody in the area can see you and avoid injuring you. Also, heat stress is a real thing, but whenever possible, you should wear long pants and long sleeves to protect your skin. We also talked about some of the equipment that you'll want to bring with you. Properly mixed fuel in a proper storage container, bar oil, spare chainsaw parts like spark plug, fuel filter, air filter, starter rope, spare chainsaw chain, and spare chainsaw bar. Make sure these are the correct ones for your saw. You'll also want tools like your scrunch, a file, and a file guide. You'll want some wedges and an axe, and it's a good idea to have a tow strap or chain. In addition to those things that will help you to operate your chainsaw or other equipment, there are some other things you should bring. Make sure you have plenty of drinking water, maybe an electrolyte drink, snacks, depending on the time of year, you might need some warm, dry layers. You might want bug spray or sunscreen. It never hurts to bring a rain jacket too, in case the weather changes. You should also bring a first aid kit. This is the little one I keep in my car. It's probably doesn't have everything in it that you would actually want for doing storm cleanup. I'll put a link in the description to a list of items that you should have in your first aid kit for storm cleanup. Probably the most important thing that you can bring with you is a buddy. Your buddy will be there to look out for hazards, keep an eye on the weather, call for help if you get injured, or administer first aid. Make sure you have a fully charged cell phone, but be aware that if you're working in rural areas, especially an area where storms may have damaged telecommunication towers, you might not have signal, so have a backup plan. Whether you have somebody else with you or not, it's a good idea to have somebody back home who knows where you've gone and when you plan to be back. It's a good idea to check in with them, maybe while you're having your snack or while you're taking a break. They should know what to do if something goes wrong, if you miss a check-in, and where to send help. Now let's go over a few common hazard situations that you might run into when working in storm damaged areas. The first hazard to mention is overhead hazards. Overhead hazards could be leaning trees, standing dead trees, or loose limbs and branches up in the tree canopy. Overhead hazards are always a risk when walking or working in the woods, but especially likely if a storm has come through and caused damage to trees. It's easy to see how a large limb or tree falling on a person could cause serious injury or even death. But it's important to realize that even what seem like small branches at the top of a tree, something the size of a baseball bat, can cause serious injury or death when falling from a height. The next hazard to be aware of is the root ball. When trees are blown over in heavy winds, the roots are pulled upward into a vertical position along with a large amount of heavy soil. When the tree is cut or separated from the stump, that root ball can fall back into the hole. This can happen very suddenly. It can even happen several minutes after cutting has finished, as the roots that are still attached to the ground straighten. This makes the area around the root ball a very dangerous place to be. It is especially important that the person running the saw keep a careful eye out for any other people who are working in the area and make sure that they are not in the area of the hole. The next hazard I want to talk about is tension and compression. Because trees are very heavy, they are always being worked on by gravity. Gravity trying to pull the tree down. A tree like this that is propped up on the bottom and on the top will probably have gravity trying to pull it down in the middle. That makes this top side squished together or compressed and the bottom side slightly stretched. It's under tension. When you cut into compressed wood, it's very easy for that cut to close up and bind your saw and get it stuck. But when you cut from the tension side, a lot of energy can be released all at once. And you have to be very careful when cutting on the tension side that this tree doesn't come apart in a way that hurts you. You should work from the compressed side if at all possible, so that the tree moves away from you when it moves instead of towards you. A tree that may be resting on more than one item may have branches or twists or bends in its trunk, can have pressures and tensions pulling on it from multiple different directions, and it can be very hard to tell where the safest place to stand will be. This part of this tree likely has compression on the top and tension on the bottom. But as we go out to the part that is suspended above the ground, that likely reverses. And the part that is on the top is probably tensioned, while compression is probably occurring on the bottom of the tree. It is also possible that this tree is being slightly bowed by the larger standing tree behind it. That would cause tension on this side of the log and compression on the side of the log by the standing tree. As you work, cutting pieces of the damaged tree apart, the weight can shift. It can shift suddenly in a dangerous way, but even if it shifts gradually and safely, that will change where the pressure and tension is on that log. So it's important to have a plan, but to constantly be reassessing the plan as conditions change because of the work that you're doing. Spring poles are an extreme example of wood under tension. A spring pole is where the tree is still rooted to the ground, but another falling tree or perhaps ice and snow has landed on the top of the tree and pinned it down as well. In this example, the dogwood is still alive, but the top of the dogwood is pinned to the ground by this larger dead trunk. This puts extreme amounts of tension on the top side of the spring pole. Spring poles are very dangerous to try to resolve because of the high amount of energy contained in that tension. Here is a model of a spring pole. And I think most people would agree that if we are to cut it on this end, it will spring up like an Acme brand catapult with a coyote in the basket. This leads many people to believe that it's safer to cut it at this end, but cutting it at this end releases just as much pressure in just as short a period of time. It is best to avoid working with spring poles if at all possible. But if it's not possible, the safest way to handle a spring pole is to draw an imaginary line horizontally from the top of the spring pole and vertically from the base of the spring pole. That angle then gets divided in two, and we find the sweet spot where it's safest to operate. Then, if you can take your saw and whittle away a little bit at this, you can gradually work away that energy until it's safe to cut. The final hazard I want to talk about is possibly the most important, and that is simply fatigue. Storm cleanup is much more strenuous work than most of us are used to doing. It's also often done in harsh conditions of either extreme heat or cold. This will tire you. It is important that you take frequent breaks to protect your health and also to stay strong and focused. As you become fatigued, it will be easier to make mistakes and misjudgments. As you become fatigued, you might take shortcuts or do things in not exactly the safest way if it's an easier way that puts less burden on your body. So please, if you're going to be doing this work, take frequent breaks, stay hydrated, eat snacks, check the weather, check in with your people, and don't overdo it. Please remember that nothing is more important than your safety and the safety of your loved ones. Be very cautious whenever working in the outdoors, in the woods, and especially in areas damaged by storm. That's all I have for you this week. Please come back next month for another 15 minutes in the forest. But cutting it at this end releases just as much energy in just as small a period of time.